Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time it is when you are tuning in to this interview. Welcome in any case. My name is Robin Wouters. I'm the founder and editor of Tech.eu. And today I'm delighted to welcome Martin Ring. He's a longtime businessman who currently serves as the non-executive director of the Wolf Summit over in Poland and other places, but also actively helps businesses set up and scale from the UK. We're going to talk about him and his various activities, of course. We're also going to talk about the UK government's Department for Business and Trade, which runs the Global Entrepreneur Program, or simply GEP, as it's often called. We're going to go in a lot more detail than that. But before we do, welcome to our guest, Martin Ring. Martin, big warm welcome. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into the GEP?
Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Robin. Thank you for the very warm welcome and greetings to everybody from a sunny but cold Wrocław in southwest Poland. So, I'm based here. I live here in southwest Poland in Wrocław. My background, I've over 30 years experience in the financial services industry, working in the UK, the Republic of Ireland, and all over Central Eastern Europe, of which 16 years I've been in Poland and another 6 years in many different countries throughout Central and Eastern Europe. During my time, I've been working with corporations, with startups, with scale-ups. In the case of the financial institutions I was working with, it was very much scaling them up and growing them up in the region here and attracting investment for them. Aside from that, what I've been doing, I have my own advisory business. I've been helping Irish founders and UK founders who are looking to grow their businesses internationally in the region here, and helping founders in Poland and in Central Eastern Europe who are looking to expand their businesses into the UK and internationally and scale up their businesses. And as you already mentioned, I'm a non-executive director of Wolf Summit. So I guess my passion is founders. My passion is helping startups and scale-ups to, accomplish their objectives.
Yeah, that's a very, very relevant skill set and passion for the GEP program, of course. I'll explain a little bit of context for those who don't know. The Global Entrepreneur Program was basically set up to help founders of high growth companies from outside the UK move their businesses to the UK, set up there, but also scale internationally from there through things like networking, guidance by experienced mentors like Martin, but also help with fundraising efforts, navigate the system for grants and R&D and tax and collaborations with universities and whatnot. Also quite actively endorsing people in getting innovator visa schemes sorted out, which is, of course, very important. And also sort of size up the UK as a target market and as a base to scale up internationally, among many other things. Maybe the first question to you is, how did you get acquainted with the Global Entrepreneur Program, and how did you get involved?
Yeah, well, I was approached by a representative from the Global Entrepreneur Program. I mean, obviously, in the business we're in, networks are so important. So obviously, I got introduced to the head of the Global Entrepreneur Program, to Derek, and Michelle, who heads up the COO of the program, and we had a very interesting conversation. And I have to say, I was really impressed with the program. I thought it was a very innovative program because it's so practical. You have what we call deal makers, who are effectively entrepreneurs, experienced entrepreneurs, helping entrepreneurs who wish to scale up, grow their business, and use the UK as their HQ for fundraising, for growth, etc., and as a platform to indeed expand and internationalize their business. I thought it was really unique and a tremendous idea, having experienced entrepreneurs. I think this is the secret sauce of the program, where you have entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs to scale up their business in the UK and internationally. So, it was very much in line with what I've been doing it throughout my career, and it just seemed a natural step to join the program as one of the international deal makers, because we have 9 international deal makers globally, and then we've got 17 based in the UK. The 17 deal makers in the UK cover every type of tech that you can think of, and they're based throughout the regions geographically in the UK. The 9 deal makers, you're going to find us all over the globe. I'm based here in Poland, responsible for Central Eastern Europe. We have deal makers in Turkey, Singapore, Thailand, South Korea, Australia, South America. So, and South Africa. So very much a global presence. And we work as a very close knit team together. In fact, we're meeting up in 2 weeks in 2 weeks time in London in person to bond and to talk about our plans for next year and share our plans and etc etc. So it's a very close knit team, and it's a natural formula through the networking I'd be doing, through people I'd meet, through founders I'd meet. If the founders are interested in establishing a HQ in the UK, as the conversation emerges, and I learn more about them, we're able to have a conversation about what would be best for them, and how to go forward. And if I think that this is something that is really scalable in the UK, and that's the right time for them to move, because sometimes it may not be the right time for a founder. They may be too early. They may need to do more to grow their traction in their home country or in neighboring countries before they're ready for an international move. But if I feel they're ready, I'll introduce them to a UK Dealmaker, and we will work as a team with that founder to help them. So as they pack their suitcase and start moving to the UK to grow and develop their business there, while at the same time trying to keep the traction in their home country. So, the topics, as you can think of, all the topics are covered. If it's a fundraising strategy, it's how to grow their networks in the UK, whether it's networks of suppliers, whether it's networks of potential clients, potential investors. So we cover the whole range thing. All of the other deal makers that I'm working with, they all, so to speak, they've learned the hard way, in terms of growing the business, and we can totally relate to founders and the stages that we're at, because we've all done it. We've all fallen in the bear traps, and we've all experienced the successes as well. So I believe that the program is very well positioned to mentor and help founders making the step of moving to the UK and scaling up and growing their business successfully in the UK.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's a lot of ground you're covering, clearly. What I'm wondering about is, how do you actually become a deal maker? Obviously, you have to have sort of the experience and the right profile. But what's the onboarding process like? Like, how do you become a deal maker, and what's in it for you, so to speak?
Well, I was approached, and I think basically any of the deal makers that I'm aware of would have been approached by the program, because as I think you mentioned earlier on, there's experience required in order to be in a position that you're going to be able to successfully mentor and help in a very meaningful and practical way to introduce founders to the right networks, to help them their fundraising strategies. So there's significant experience required. So I was approached because of my experience in this, and to the best of my knowledge, other deal makers that I'm aware of would have been approached through leaders of the program to get involved in the program.
Great. You also mentioned that you cover the Central and Eastern European region for the GEP program. Are there any specific needs for founders there or startups there that are very specific to sort of the services that you can provide as a deal maker?
Well, usually the founders that I'm dealing with, they're either gaining good traction, or they have, they're now at a stage where they're ready for the next move. They're looking at international expansion. They've probably either bootstrapped themselves, or they've raised their initial seed capital, and they're looking to the next steps. So some are startups at quite an advanced level. Most will be scale ups ready for the next challenge, and they're sufficiently mature in terms of their traction or their fundraising, that they're ready for the move to another country. And particularly if you look at the UK, with 67 million potential clients, their consumers there, and also the fundraising opportunities that are there, and obviously being successful in the UK is an ideal launch pad to springboard and grow your business internationally as a UK company, leveraging off the Department of Business and Trade offices globally as well, which provide a lot of support in that regard. So what I'm finding is that they're ready for the next move, or they're looking at their next strategic move, and the next logical move is the UK. It's an obvious market for them and an obvious place to um, set up a HQ for fundraising purposes, leveraging off the immense amount of capital that's available in the UK. Obviously, the UK is a leader, one of the global leaders in terms of funding of founders, startups, and scale ups. So it's a next logical move for them, and that's the sort of conversation that would be taking place with the founders, because they're ready for that move.
Right. And how many companies would you say on average do you help, let's say, per year get into the GEP program?
I'd say so over the last 10 months or so. There's 13 founders that have successfully gone through the program, and at the moment I'm working with another 4 or 5 at a more advanced stage, getting them ready to apply for the program.
Um, so the companies that you help sort of get into the program, aside from having to have the right profile and track record and being ready to move to the UK and scale up, what do they actually concretely need to do to get into the program? Is there sort of an onboarding? Is there an application process that they need to run through?
That's a very good question. I mean, one of the interesting things about the process is it's extremely straightforward. Um, you know, um, Usually, I'll have had a number of meetings with them, preparing them. I'll have had meetings with the UK Dealmaker as well, who is going to be helping them on the landing side as they land. And between us, we'll have formed an opinion if they're ready to apply for the process. The application form, it's a 6-page Word document. All the questions any VC are going to ask you, all the questions that they'll have covered off in their pitch decks, very straightforward. Background of the founders, what's unique about the tech product, what's unique about them, what are their plans in the UK, how do they expect to scale up? All the normal questions that you're going to expect from any investor, and that they'll be well used and well prepared to cover off those questions. The application goes into a committee called the Global Entrepreneur Program Investment Committee, or GEPIC as we call it for short. And that's made up of, there's a number of deal makers on that committee. So there's experienced entrepreneurs on the committee. And then there's representatives, specialists from the Department of Business and Trade, technology specialists and other specialists, and senior leaders. So the key thing about the program is we want to make sure that anybody who goes in the program is going to succeed in scaling up their business in the UK. That's our primary concern. That's what it's all about. So if we think that they're going to be successful in the UK, they're going to get through, the chances are that they're going to be successful in their application. So it's quite straightforward, really. They, obviously, for those who will require a visa to live and work in the UK, there will be a visa endorsement interview. And that will, as part of that, an entrepreneur participates in that to talk more about their business plans for the future, because obviously that is an important part of the visa and innovator visa qualification for the visa endorsement.
Right. Yeah, that makes a big difference, I think, for a lot of founders. Now, the UK government is working really hard to create more awareness around this global entrepreneur program. In the region that you are most active in, when people are sort of getting to know GEP for the first time, what are some of the questions that they have, or maybe the doubts that they raise, or some of the concerns that they have in those initial, get to know each other phase?
Yeah, I haven't heard them expressing doubts. Interesting enough, because as I say, usually the founders I'm talking to, they're already looking to expand into the UK. They see the UK as a natural area for them to expand, to raise greater amounts of capital, and to scale up their business. Um, Usually, questions about the program would be naturally, um, will you be able to provide me some advice and guidance in terms of fundraising? Will you be able to help me in terms of introductions to relevant networks of clients, of suppliers? One of the questions that they don't tend to ask, and in actual fact, that's quite important, is that I think people, when they think of the UK, they probably think London. And while London is obviously very relevant for, let's say, fintechs, whatever, in particular, you know, there are other locations that can be extremely relevant to founders. I mean, you talked to Amar, and Wales and Cardiff in Wales has worked out very well for him. It's a cheaper location to live in and to run your business in than London itself. And there are other locations throughout the UK that have many different programs, grants, collaboration with universities that can be very, very relevant to different types of founders. If it's, yes, I was talking to one of our deal makers who's based in Cambridge, and he's a life sciences PhD, that's his specialization, and he specializes in helping founders on the med tech side who are looking to expand their business and can make the right introductions and relevant introductions to the right networks of investors based in Cambridge, and make sense for them in some circumstances if it's relevant for them perhaps to be based there. You look at the Midlands, one of the founders worked with, Trigo, they located themselves up in the Midlands. It was kind of the heart of the industrial heart of the UK. And that's a very good location for many different types of founders, particularly those who might be involved in electric vehicles and that type of thing, or VR or AR. So there's many different regions. Up in Edinburgh, I've recently just helped a Ukrainian founder to establish up in Edinburgh. It's a very strong knit community up there, and Russell has been able to help Dimitri and others to to link them in to the right networks of investors or right networks of clients, people who will help them to settle in and grow their business and scale up there.
Yeah, sounds great. Does your work as a deal maker stop when a company goes through the process successfully and sort of lands in the UK, or do you stay in touch with them? Do you actively mentor them even after they go through the program?
The interesting thing about the program is I guess there's almost kind of a natural piece. We're there to help them as they're moving, help them as they're landing, and as they're accomplishing their fundraising objectives, as they're scaling up their business, as if they've already started internationalizing their business, successfully, it almost comes to, how would one say, that there isn't the need for them to be leveraging off us so much. And timescales will vary, but I think generally speaking, after about 6 months, they're alive and kicking. They're then able to leverage off. There's a very strong GEP alumni network, so they're actually able to talk to others in similar circumstances with themselves and stay in tune with at the meetings and at that they regular meetings that they have. So that's kind of the cycle. They're then alumni, and they're self-sufficient, they're growing, and they've moved into a different life cycle, so to speak. But yes, to date, I've stayed in touch with a number of the founders, but there isn't the same degree of reliance as there would be at the early stage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have any, maybe to wrap up, do you have any general advice for founders, specifically in places like Poland and Ukraine, on how they should sort of get themselves ready for a move to the UK and a move to sort of scale up internationally? Because you obviously you meet a lot of founders. What are some common traits that you see in them that they sort of need to have to level up to get to that stage?
Yeah, well, I think that firstly, solidify the traction in your home market, or in the neighboring markets where your existing traction levels, because it's going to be important that you don't want to jeopardize that or put that at risk by moving too early. Because when you're trying to grow in a second market, you don't want to find yourself having to pull back from your initial move in the new market because you hadn't planned properly the management of your day-to-day core bread and butter business in your home market. So I think having the traction and making sure that you've thought through how you will be able to grow in your new market, uh, and finding the right um, people to support you as you're growing in the new market, and that may involve recruiting people, so making sure that you've thought through the capital side of it as well, and how you're going to fund that. So I think traction is going to be critically important, and stability, so that you're ready for the move.
Yeah, great advice. Final question: are there any particular industries or verticals in the CEE region that lend themselves particularly well for companies to sort of participate in the GEP?
Well, obviously, the UK government is looking very strongly at unique, strong tech skills, deep tech. Um, it's very interesting, of course. The whole carbon neutral agenda is becoming increasingly important, and increasingly important for all of us here on this earth. Let's be honest, but that's very, very important as well. Um, and then the whole leveling up strategy, looking at considering different regions to expand and grow your business within.
Well, Martin, thank you so much for your time and sharing some insights on the Global Entrepreneur Program from the UK government, and your work as a deal maker as well. Thank you so much again, and best of luck with the future.
Thank you very much, Robin. Thanks for the opportunity of talking to you today. All the best.